And good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Video Sports page. This, of course, is the program where the emphasis is on local sports. I'm your host, Carl Pratt, behind the glass, putting it all together for us once again this week. Ken Bukes with some help from Rich Goulat. We appreciate the efforts of those two gentlemen as we put edition number 1151 on the air. During this week's edition of our program, we'll share with you a couple of different interviews. We'll talk to the Silver Lake varsity basketball coach, his team playing in the first round tournament game on Thursday night. We'll have a Meet the Athlete segment. We'll spend some time with the Silver Lake captain from the hockey team. Silver Lake's hockey team will also be in action on Thursday night. We'll update you on some other activities in our viewing area as it's postseason tournament time. And we'll get right into the meat of our program right now. Let's call on Rich and Ken to push some buttons. Let's take a look at the Plymouth South girls basketball team as the Lady Panthers were in action on Wednesday night as they hosted Stoughton. As we look at some of these highlights now and check out the young ladies from Plymouth South under the direction of Summer Ivan, we can tell you that the Plymouth South Panthers went up against a very good Stoughton team. And unfortunately for the Lady Panthers, they came up just short. The Panthers are home in their white uniforms, Stoughton in the black and orange. Final count was 42-35. But you know what? The game wasn't quite that close. Stoughton actually showed an awful lot of quickness out on top, had several steals and easy layups, and contested everything like we saw right there by the Plymouth South Panthers. But Coach Summer Ivan has a very young basketball team. She'll return 3 of her starters from this year's team, which posted a very good record and came up just a whisker short of the Atlantic Coast League Championship. So let's get some of the natural sound from tournament action from Wednesday night. All right, a nice three-point bucket right there by Tess Hockenreiter. She's only a freshman, but you know what? Plymouth South needed a few more of those threes to catch up with Stoughton. But nonetheless, a very good season just the same. All right, as we continue with our program on Thursday night, as we actually air our program for the first time, the Silver Lake boys varsity basketball team is home against Sharon. Well, yesterday afternoon, they had their final tune-up, their final practice, and I had an opportunity to catch up with first-year head coach Sean Donovan, and we had this conversation. Showed you some highlights of the Lady Panthers from Plymouth South, their first-round tournament game at home. Well, that'll be Silver Lake's situation on Thursday night, 7 o'clock, as they host Sharon. Here to talk about a very good regular season and their first-round opponent is first-year head coach Sean Donovan. We appreciate your time. Different mindset, I would think, once you get in the tournament.
Yeah, I think you know, you have to tighten things up a little bit. We had a good week of practice, actually close to a week of practice of going over some things and kind of fine-tuning things so we don't have, 15 things going in, maybe we only have a couple, and just try and get good at those.
Yeah, and not everybody gets the luxury that you have going into the tournament. You know your opponent. You've faced them already this season.
Yeah, we played Sharon fourth game of the year at a Bridgewater Raynham tournament, and they beat us 71-61. They played well. They shot it well. I don't think we played that great. And hopefully we're a different team and hopefully get a different outcome.
Well, let's back up the clock. Even though you may think you're a different team going into this game on Thursday, yeah. What do you remember taking that bus ride back to Kingston after that game?
I think after that tournament and maybe a couple of games after that, we kind of realized that we could be better. So we had to make some changes. I think we felt like we could play with a team like Sharon. Maybe if we limited some of our turnovers, played some better defense, maybe made some changes personnel-wise in terms of where guys were playing. So, yeah, we looked at making those changes, and we made them, and hopefully it'll work out.
Well, for the benefit of the people watching our program tonight, if you didn't see our show a couple of 3 weeks ago, we spent some time with Coach Sean Donovan following senior night and a nice victory at home here by Silver Lake. Tell the people at home about this team and what makes it go, what makes it gel.
We have really good leadership. I think the seniors have been good. No issues in practice. Everybody, works pretty hard. I think it was, I think the playing well towards the end of the season has been a good thing. Playing well going into the tournament, getting into the tournament a little bit earlier maybe than we thought, I think has been good for these guys confidence-wise. So I think they're playing with some confidence now.
Right, tell the people at home the record going into the tournament. What does the record mean to Sean Donovan and your assistant coach, Tony Pina? What does that mean to you?
So we're 15-7 going in. It gave us a 5 seed. We're playing Sharon, who's a 12. So, I think it set us up to play some good competition in the Bridgewater Raynham tournament. We had two good games in a tournament at Westwood High about a week and a half ago. So it put us in a good position to get a home game. I guess that's the biggest thing you can ask for is a home game going into the tournament, and luckily enough we got it.
Are you a different team at home?
Yeah, I think anybody is, right, with the crowd, knowing the rims and knowing the court and, having everybody behind you. I think that'll factor into it, hopefully.
Well, let's talk about it. You've coached high school basketball for many years in the past, I think down in the Barnstable area. And so let's talk about, if you can, a little bit about Patriot League competition and how much that helped prepare you for the tournament.
Yeah, I've been really impressed going in. I mean, this season with the teams in our league, Scituate made the tournament, Whitman Hanson, Hingham, us, Quincy, North Quincy. I mean, that's 6 teams or so that made the tournament. So, there really weren't many nights where we were kind of rolling it out and, just going to try and beat a team talent-wise. So I think it really prepared us, because there's a good chance we'll face some of these teams come tournament time.
All right, obviously we're visiting with head coach Sean Donovan of Silver Lake. Before I let you sneak away, and hopefully I'm not going to jinx you, but what are you going to remember about this group of kids, okay? Because as we all know, you get in the tournament, it could be one and done. Yeah. You could have more success, but you don't want to have a great season to this point be ruined by maybe one tournament loss. But what are you going to remember about this group of kids?
So for me and for them, it was a first. It was a first for me making a tournament as a head coach. First for these guys, the seniors, making into the tournament. But at the same time, I don't want to judge our season based on the one game of the tournament. It was a great record coming in. They did exactly what I asked them to do. They put us in position to get into the tournament. So the bigger picture is kind of the process of getting here and coaching a really great group of kids. That was a tremendous season, a lot of fun.
Well, listen, we appreciate your time joining us on the program. You just had your final practice before that first tournament game, and I don't see any jitters, any nervousness now. And as you said to the kids earlier, if you're seniors, you got 32 more minutes of basketball at least remaining.
Right, that's what they got. So, hopefully that will stick with them. That it's a big deal that they want to take advantage of. They'll be nervous, but, once the ball gets thrown up, I think that'll, kind of go away. And hopefully they'll use as motivation to keep playing.
Well, we appreciate you making time for our program once again this week.
Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, Sean Donovan joining us this week on the Video Sports Page. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. Okay, while we've got an opportunity, we can update you on some other teams in our viewing area that were involved in tournament play. How about the Carver boys? Carver came up with a victory against Pope John Paul. Final count was 69-51 on Wednesday. In that game, senior Tony Pyers scored 27 points, and as part of the 27 was career point number 1,000. He got that on a three-point bucket. Devon King threw in 15 more for his uncle, head coach Roger King. Next on tap for Carver Friday night, Carver will take on Bishop Connolly out of Fall River. Carver went in at 10-10, so they're the last seed in the tournament. But you know what? They're going to surprise some people because Carver is used to playing in Division III all these years against the likes of Norwells and Rocklands and different tough teams like that, East Bridgewater. Well, now Carver will drop down a division, and they certainly should play havoc with that field. The Duxbury girls had a victory against Hopkinton in the first round, 65-44. Duxbury now with 19 victories on the season. Michaela Norton had 19 points, and Kate North threw in 10 more to help lead Duxbury to the victory. Duxbury will now be home Saturday afternoon as they go up against Fontbonne, who is the number 5 seed in the tournament. That should be a great game in Duxbury starting at 4 o'clock. Well, long before you get to high school basketball, you got to play youth basketball. In our viewing area, there are a ton of different leagues for kids to participate in. Let's call on our guys to roll some videotape now, and what we're going to look at right here is South Plymouth youth basketball. And right now we'll look at Mr. Whalen at the foul line hitting a foul shot for his team. Young Mr. Whalen playing. He's got some other brothers and sisters that play in this league and play in the girls' league, and they're very, very active. Their dad's involved in a number of different activities in our viewing area, Larry Whalen. But down here in South Plymouth, this is the final date of the regular season. This is grades 3 and 4, as you can tell from our graphic. They play 4 different nights, and playoffs are right around the corner. And before this video wraps up, we're going to see 2 long bombs, one from the team in the black and one from the team in the white known as the Raptors. Let's get some of the natural sound. Okay, we saw that long bomb by the Raptors. It was a pretty good basketball game that took place earlier this week in the final game of the regular season. Well, it's an opportunity to put our focus on high school hockey right now, more specifically the Silver Lake program. Silver Lake with a nice victory in the first round tournament game against Foxborough. Silver Lake wins it by a count of 5-2. They had 2 shorthanded goals in this game, but admittedly the second shorthanded goal came with an empty net. Silver Lake actually outshot the opponents in the first 2 periods, 25-4. Brandon Hall, the head coach for Silver Lake, has to be smiling these days. They got 5 goals in the game from 5 different goal scorers. Well, one young man that didn't score for Silver Lake in that victory, but he's one of the captains and one of the leaders, is Matt Koch. And Matt joins us this week during our Meet the Athlete segment. Let's call on Rich. Let's call on Ken behind the scenes to roll my interview with Matt Koch. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. It's another one of those Meet the Athlete segments. And today we're over at Silver Lake. We're going to talk to one of the senior captains for the hockey team. This is Matt Koch. Matt, we appreciate your time. Let's talk about it. Silver Lake having a fine season.
Yeah, I mean, great year. Big turnaround from last year. Been playing real well, won a lot of games, and tournament's just been great so far.
Let's talk about the big difference. A year ago, your team started off with a couple of quick victories, but you finished with only 5. Had to be disappointed disappointing. What was the big turnaround this year?
A lot of same faces. We didn't graduate that many last year, so everybody's been playing well together.
Let's talk about you. Obviously, you found the net with regularity. You're in double figures as far as goal scoring. Does that make it feel special for you, a different type of season? Have you exceeded your own expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I got more points than last year, so looking to improve every game, get some more points.
All right, how would you describe this year's Silver Lake team? Because you were in double digits for victories. You get a nice first-round tournament win, and by the time the people see this interview for the first time, you're back in action round 2 of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, can't wait.
All right, let's talk if we can. How would you characterize this year's team? How would you? I know there's a lot more experience and so forth. Is it a loose group? Is it a fun group? Is it a confident group?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. All the guys are friends on the team. No one's outcasted at all, so.
I talk about this being a senior captain. What does that mean for you to walk around with the C on your shirt, and how much pride you take in that?
Yeah, it feels great to represent the team like that.
All right, and talk about your senior year, how time is really flying by. I would imagine it seems like just yesterday you were a freshman.
Yeah, I can't believe it's coming to an end, and hopefully we keep winning so we can keep playing.
What's it like, though, to play for Coach Hall, his style of hockey?
Yeah, he's a good coach, and we work hard, and everybody respects him. So.
Yeah, but how about his style? Does that fit you, or did you have to adjust your game? Did he temper you a little bit? Did he let you go do your own thing? How did it work out for you?
He's pretty understanding. I mean, he looks at what we have and can do, and then forms it to that. So he doesn't really have a set style.
I talk about you being able to really break up your time, be disciplined with your time. You got to get it done in the classroom. You got to get it done on the ice, and sometimes that's not easy. There must be late nights doing homework.
Yeah, especially on game nights, it gets pretty late. So it's good to have a study in school to get your work done.
There you go. All right, as you can tell from our graphic, this week on the Video Sports page, I'm joined by Matt Koch. He scored over 10 goals this season for Silver Lake, and he's one of the main reasons they're back in the tournament again this year. They had a first-round tournament victory. Talk about that first game. 5-2, you came out on top, but it took a while to get your goals, even though you were peppering the opponent's net.
Yeah, we came out pretty flat. I mean, the shots don't make the score seem like it. They played pretty well.
All right, and how about the opponent that you're going to take on as we tape this interview in round 2 over at the Bog?
Dartmouth we don't really know much about, but it should be pretty good. Anybody in the tournament's going to be good and can give you a game.
Exactly. Okay, before I let you sneak away, who's 1 or 2 teachers that you're going to miss when you go through those doors here at Silver Lake for a final time? Anybody had a lot of influence or you really got close to and looked up to?
Put me on the spot here.
Well, there must be one teacher that you look back on that maybe you enjoyed his or her class a little more, or you really enjoyed being around.
I like Miss Melville. She was my chemistry teacher last year, my freshman physics teacher. So.
All right, well, I'm going to let you sneak away. We appreciate spending some time with you. Good luck in the tournament. Keep it rolling.
Thank you.
All right, joining me this week during our Meet the Athlete segment over here at Silver Lake, this is Matt Koch, one of the senior captains for the Silver Lake hockey team. Round 2 of the tournament on Thursday night at the Bog. And you know what? When our program ends at 8 o'clock, get over and catch periods 2 and 3 at the Bog on Summer Street in Kingston. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. All right, a few more things to update you as far as the high school tournament is concerned. Pembroke had a very impressive victory, knocking off Attleboro 8-4 in the first round. Here's what's interesting. 8 goals, as I just mentioned, 8 different goal scorers for Pembroke. The Duxbury hockey team will be at the Bog this weekend. Actually, it won't be the Bog. They're going to be down on the Cape. They're going to be down in Bourne and take on Xaverian at the Gallo Arena. Duxbury goes into its matchup with Xaverian with a mark of 14-3-5. And quickly back to basketball for a moment. How about Wareham? Our program goes to Wareham via Comcast and via Verizon. Well, guess what? The Wareham basketball team knocked off Norwell with a convincing victory this week. Wareham's record right now under the direction of Coach Brajoli, 20 wins and just 1 loss. All right, it's an opportunity now to go into the archives. Earlier this year, I was at the Boston Garden, the TD Garden, and had an opportunity to spend some time interviewing various personnel from the Dallas Mavericks before they took on the Celtics. And one of the guys I had a chance to spend some time with was Derek Harper. He played in the NBA for 17 years. Now he's a TV analyst for Fox covering the Dallas Mavericks. And courtside, Derek Harper and I shared the microphone. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. We're courtside before the Mavericks take on the Celtics. I'm pleased to be joined by Derek Harper. He's currently a game analyst for the Fox Network covering the Mavericks, but he played in the NBA not for a cup of coffee, but for a bunch of meals. How about 17 years? And boy, did those years fly by?
Yeah, they did, but they were blessed years. You know, I think anytime you get to do something that you really enjoy doing, it's truly a blessing. I really didn't work for 17 years. I played basketball and enjoyed every year of it.
There you go, but back up the clock. At what point in your life, was it in high school, maybe college, that you thought, I have a chance to maybe play pro basketball?
Well, you know, in high school, I was a high school All-American. Really gained a lot of confidence through that experience, through my high school experience, and felt like then that I could make it in the NBA. I grew up like a lot of kids, idolizing, you know, Cousy, Walt Frazier, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, all of those guys. And the one thing that I realized at an early age is if I put the work in, I would have an opportunity to do some things basketball-wise and that would last for a long time.
Well, let me ask you, if you do back up the clock those many years as a player and a few since you've been away from the game, who was that first bigger-than-life figure when you stepped on a court? Maybe not the first game, but sometime that first season, and you looked across and said, wow, that's so-and-so. I'm on the same court with this guy.
It's easy. It was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the skyhook. You know, you hear about it, you see it as a kid, but to be up close and personal, watching him perform after idolizing him for such a long time, it was truly a blessing and a very unique experience for me when I initially came into the NBA.
All right, we're going to battle through the elements as they get ready for the pregame activity, so stay with us. I got to ask you, though, Derek, when you kind of made that first NBA basket, what was the point where you said, I belong here?
Well, it wasn't after the first NBA basket, that's for sure, because I played for Dick Motta. He was a very experienced coach, had won a championship in Washington, and he didn't believe in playing rookies a whole lot. So I had to gain the confidence to know that I belonged. But I had a breakout game later on in that year, my rookie year. And, you know, once you have one of those games, I think it gives you the right attitude and the confidence to realize that you do belong, that you can compete amongst the greatest players in the world, and I never looked back from there.
Well, let's talk about it if we can now. It's still 15 feet to the foul line.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you got the NBA three-point line that maybe you didn't have back then.
Right.
But how is the game different?
You know, I think guys are more athletic. You know, this is championship Mecca here in Boston, and when I look back on Cousy days, Havlicek, you know, all of the greats of the Celtics, all the guys could shoot the basketball, and I think that's a lost art in this league somewhat. You know, I always look at field goal percentages. Guys average a bunch of points, but if you look at their field goal percentage, it's at 41, 42%. So I think the biggest difference is guys they're more athletic now, but we really played the game a little bit different, played it on the floor, and really and truly, not in a biased way, but I think we were more effective because we could shoot the basketball, pass the basketball, and really think the game, not to knock these young kids now.
No, but when you look at these guys, maybe they're more specialized in one facet of the game, but maybe they're not complete players.
I don't think you find a lot of complete guys. I think that's what this league lacks. Still a great league. I don't want to take anything away from what the league is, but you know, if you're not getting better as a professional basketball player, I think you're going the other way. And there are a lot of one-dimensional players in this league at this point, but you know, when I was coming up in the league, we did everything pretty well.
All right, let me ask you, what was the biggest wake-up call for you when you first broke in? And I don't mean necessarily the competition, but maybe it's the hotel accommodation, maybe it's the plane, maybe it's the meal money. If you're like me, you grew up with not a whole lot.
I'm like you. Yeah. I grew up with not a whole lot. That's putting it mildly for myself. But my rookie year, we were playing the Lakers in the finals, and I made a mistake. I thought that the score was tied. I'm sorry, that we had a 1-point lead, and the score was tied. So I dribbled the clock out without getting a shot up. And that was kind of a wake-up call for me. One, because it was a mistake, and a lot of times when you make a mistake, it's difficult for you to deal with it. It's hard for you to rebound from it. But because I made that mistake and I was able to get over that mistake, I think it really helped me to go on to play 17 years in the league. And I'm not happy that it happened, but I think it really paved the way for me to go out and have a long, lucrative career.
Yeah, but obviously you get learning curves like that. It's never going to happen again.
But it was a culture shock for me because the media, of course, after the game was in my face, and I told them plain and simple, I'm not going to kill myself because I made a mistake. I'm going to sit here and take it like a man. And again, because of that mistake, I think I was able to play for a long time in this league.
All right, Derek Harper's joining us this week on the Video Sports Page. Obviously, we start this interview just when the Celtics want to start their pregame stuff with the Jumbotron, but we're going to fight through it. I got to ask you, Derek, when you come to Boston, what comes through your mind? I mean, you've been coming here for more than half your life.
Great memories. I was one of these kids that watched basketball as a kid, ran out of the house and wrote Oscar Robertson, Walt Frazier on my T-shirt to go and play basketball. So Tommy Heinsohn, Satch Sanders, Paul Salas, Don Nelson, Hondo, Kuz, all of those guys mean something to me. I was a student of the game. I know what they did. I know how successful those guys were. Dave Cowens, the list goes on and on. So coming here, I find myself doing what everybody else does, looking up at all of the banners that's here at this arena, and it's phenomenal. You know, when you think about what the Celtics, 17 championships, I think, that they've won here in Boston. So nothing like it. Great experience.
Well, obviously, like you said, you look up here,
Yeah.
but you didn't play here. You played in that old cruddy Boston
real
Garden. So I got
with all the dead spots, no question.
Were there really dead spots?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I counted millions of dead spots in the arena over and over again. There were dead spots on the floor. But I tell you what, when I walked into Boston Garden for the first time, it was a dream come true because I always wanted to be on that floor.
But let me ask you, though, as a young kid and you said, oh, I heard there's dead spots, this and that, did you really kind of go around dribbling and saying, oh, yeah, there's one here, there's one there?
Up and down the court, no doubt about it, and I found a lot of dead spots on the court, no doubt.
How about Boston as a sports town? You've had a chance. All right, as we continue along with our program, we have an opportunity to wrap up this week's edition. We'll replay the Derek Harper interview in its entirety down the road. Big thank you tonight goes out to Rich Goulart along with Kenny Bukes. They helped put it all together for us, put edition number 1151 on the air. I've been your host, Carl Pratt. Health and wisdom from the Video Sports Page.